A very good day to you all. My name is Asitha Silva, and my topic for this presentation is the involvement of higher education institutions when promoting agroecosystems resilience. The tropical agroecosystems are threatened by many factors: market economy, population growth, industrialization, urbanization, and climate change are some of them. The world, when we are planning for development, the translating the knowledge into practice to farming communities seems not adequate when considering the tropical agroecosystems resilience, which is the research problem of this study. The research gap. The main reason for the lack of knowledge translation is the lack of mechanisms, especially in the developing world. Therefore, the aim of this study looks at the relationships and gaps in integration based on the current practices of agroecosystems resilience and the higher education sector. So as the methodology, we have adapted an extensive literature review with a combination of both systematic and snowball methods. This slide shows how we conducted the systematic literature review. There were 3 academic databases: Emerald, Scopus, and Science Direct, and you can see the search string at the bottom of this page. And the Prisma flow diagram indicates how we did the screening process. So there were 1,286 papers identified, and after the screening, the initial screening and the second screening, and there were only 42 papers selected for the review. So let's talk about the findings. So the agroecosystems resilience and role of higher education. So the higher education institutions can actively engage in research and development, and they can develop necessary skills and knowledge among all stakeholders of development, so which is beneficial for agroecosystems resilience. Then the higher education institutions can develop mechanisms for better integration and create new knowledge based on integrated fields for agroecosystems resilience. Through the research and development, I think they can create this new knowledge. Then the higher education institutions have the capacities, time, necessary tools, and sometimes funding to do such experiments on creating new knowledge. Because sometimes smallholder farmers, they do not have enough funding, they do not have enough tools, sufficient capacities to create such new knowledge, but higher education institutions, they do have. Then the participate in policy making by providing relevant knowledge and bridging the gap in existing knowledge. Of course, higher education institutions, through their research and development, the created new knowledge has to be translated into policies. So when it comes to policy making, the higher education institutions have a significant role to play in updating those policies, amending those policies, and also creating new policies in agroecosystems resilience. They have the capacity to link different partners, stakeholders, and fields towards agroecosystems resilience. They can conduct seminars, community awareness programs, community outreach programs, conferences, workshops. And they can ask most of these stakeholders and come, and they can meet those stakeholders through these different platforms, which is beneficial for agroecosystems resilience. And of course, they can do community awareness programs on the significance of the climate resilience aspect of the agroecosystem. Of course, local communities do have the sufficient knowledge, but they need a bit of a scientific flavor when it comes to climate change and tropical agroecosystems resilience. There are some challenges when it comes to promoting agroecosystems resilience. So one is that declining engagement in agricultural-based entrepreneurship among youth, since the service sector and industrial sector jobs are more popular. So nobody wants to become a farmer unless you have nothing else to do. So higher education institutions are facing this gap because nobody's taking up these new courses or the programs. So they want to find a job in the industry or the service sector. And there's a knowledge gap among local farmers on agroecosystems resilience. So this knowledge gap is because of that because of the lacking of that scientific flavor. So we all know that they have a good traditional knowledge, but they need a bit of this scientific knowledge to understand the current changes. And then to promote technical and advanced agrotechnical approaches without having a strong monetary capacity. Because sometimes higher education institutions do not have sufficient funding. And most importantly, they are facing a big challenge when it comes to ensure the environmental sustainability through agroecosystems resilience, since most of these farming mechanisms are based on so many inputs of agrochemicals and pesticides and so many. So what are the areas that need to improve? So being updated and aligned with global policies is one of the key things. And then to improve higher education programs, focusing on productivity management, market orientation, and different new aspects. So this is important. And also to improve and enhance awareness on the ICT-based approaches, smart farming approaches, robotics. So these things, not only for the large-scale farmers, but also for the smallholder farmers. And also to introduce new and innovative approaches as value addition to sustainable agriculture. So value addition is another important factor. And to understand local markets and new market demands for promoting agribusinesses. So it has to be done through research. So in conclusion, it is clear that higher education institutions are significantly contributing towards agroecosystems resilience by enhancing, creating, and dissemination of knowledge. However, there are challenges that faced by higher education institutions due to market orientation, knowledge gaps, and lack of mechanisms. The higher education institutions have the capacities and resources to actively involve in agroecosystems resilience, especially by introducing state-of-the-art approaches and academic programs. So these are the findings of my study, and hope you have got something out of my work. And thank you so much for listening.